And welcome back to the Dom Salvia Show. Happy hour to us all. 855-752-4842 is the lines. Earl Ingram Jr., the co-host here at Civic Media Studios in Waukesha. Earl, thanks for sticking around for another hour, man.
No problem, man.
It's so much fun. Callers, be patient. We will get you. 855-75-CIVIC. We're lamenting, the treatment of Donald Trump by the press, the love for Donald Trump by his mega followers, and the perplexing, what I think is perplexing, decline of Donald Trump as we get closer to the election, as he gets closer to whether or not he's going to be actually sentenced. So it's apparently sentencing now was supposed to be next week, Earl, for his crimes, and now it's pushed back to November 26th after the election. Before we get to the most recent obscene quote threat from the former president, I want to get your opinion. This justice system, this two-tier justice system that, Trump was lamenting. Yeah, it seems two-tiered, like in his favor. What do you think about all the constant delays of the prosecutions of this guy?
I think that people who support Donald Trump and who constantly talk about the crimes in the central city and law and order.
Yeah.
And they constantly, you hear them harping, law and order, law and order. Hey, it's about criminals and criminals and criminals and criminals, and we got to do something about it. And then a guy right before their eyes is a bigger criminal as there's ever been. And when you totally dismiss that, and our nation is built with the three pillars, and one of those is basically, from my perspective, law and order. That's not what it says, but law and order is the Supreme Court and those kind of law and order, right? Mm-hmm. Everything's law and order.
I guess the Supreme Court.
But this man has never looked at things in a lawful manner. He's never lived his life that way ever. You can look at him historically, Dom. Go back 40 years. He's never lived in the line of doing things based on law and order. And yet people are willing to cast aside all their beliefs, lock everybody else up, lock them up. But this one guy, it's okay. It's okay. Dominic, people need to understand not just the fact of what's happening now, but if he wins, what happens the day after the election? If he loses, what happens the day after? We already have some kind of idea. It's not going to be much different, Dominic. He's not going to acquiesce and say,
why would he?
Okay, so
Right.
So he's going to ramp it up even more.
Win or lose.
So shouldn't people take that into consideration, Dominic, and think about what's in the best interest of the nation and not that man? If he loses, all hell is going to break loose, and what happened January 6th, that's going to be just small potatoes.
It's going to happen again.
Right.
There hasn't been.
Do you agree with that?
I unfortunately I do, man. It's not really a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We've already seen it. He's already made the call to arms before, and he's really ramping it up again. And to that point, if I may, just briefly here, Earl, the New York Times from a couple of days ago when Trump went off on his Truthy socials, a cease and desist. Trump wrote in his Truthy social, I, together with many attorneys and legal scholars, am watching the sanctity of the 2024 presidential election very closely because I know, better than most, the rampant cheating and skullduggery that has taken place, yeah, you would know, by the Democrats. Oh, wait, in the 2020 presidential election.
Huh, we changed gears there.
I mean, it was so close. Then he said by Democrats. I'm thinking, well, no, that was by you. He continued. It was a disgrace to our nation. Therefore, the 2024 election where votes have just started being cast, will be under the closest professional scrutiny. And when I win, all caps, those people that cheated will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences so that this depravity of justice does not happen again. We cannot let our country further devolve into a third world nation, and we won't. Please beware that this legal exposure extends to lawyers, political operatives, donors, illegal voters, and corrupt election officials. Those involved in unscrupulous behavior will be sought out, caught, and prosecuted at levels, unfortunately, never seen before in our country. You know, we've had some skullduggery and some of these kinds of things, and it was done by you. It was done by Trump. I mean, he did it.
He did the thing.
Come to D.C. It will be wild. He's talking about his own efforts. It's not just the D.C. thing. That was part of the conspiracy. And literally, there is a conspiracy. I'm not just like QAnon like the megas here. Because Ron Johnson here in the state of Wisconsin, they wanted him to hand over the fraudulent electors from the state of Wisconsin and from the state of Michigan, right? They all use basically the same letter to try to challenge the electoral electors in these various states, which most of course, ironically, happen to be swing states. You know, this was a plan put together, and now they're being prosecuted on the state level in many states. Even here, a couple of the Troopus types, the attorneys involved in that fraudulent effort, are being prosecuted here, Georgia, Arizona, I think Nevada even. So, but it's still taking so very long.
He used the word skullduggery. So, I mean, come on.
It's the biggest word he knows.
When is the last time you heard somebody use skullduggery?
It's been like reading ancient texts and stuff, man.
Come on, man. Skullduggery.
Skullduggery, yes. Digging deep. I wonder if he pulled out his thesaurus for that one, Earl.
He asked AI.
Or Rosé's thesaurus. You can look in Rosé's thesaurus and you'll see under skullduggery a photo of Donald Trump.
Skullduggery is defined as an underhanded and unscrupulous behavior and trickery. Was it it sounds very much like what the guy did last time. So when we talk about the concerns that we have after this election, I think you're absolutely right, Earl. I mean, no matter what happens, we need to be prepared for that kind of behavior again. And now perhaps, the tip of the spear were the folks that showed up initially on January 6th, and many of those folks have been prosecuted. And hell, some of those Proud Boys and whatnot, they're doing some serious time, so those folks won't be involved, but will others be involved? What will the rally cry be? Because he's already saying he's coming after you donors. He's coming after you election officials. If he doesn't win, and he will win, he's not leaving any room for the fact that he might lose.
So let me ask you, I understand the average Joes, but Congress people, senators who know better, Republican Congress people and senators who see this and hear this and have sworn on the Bible about their nation and they're going to discharge these duties. When a man says that, and they don't respond or push back, what does it say about them?
I think it says, Earl, they have the same stink on them that Trump does. Because if you don't react to it, if you're just going to absolutely dismiss the behavior and the words and the threats and the rambling and all those things, and just because he is your quote unquote Republican nominee and that is above everything else, well, then that's on you now. It's on you now.
Yeah, it is.
It is. The stink is now on you. And it's up to us to engage with those folks who think like that. Because it's one thing for a guy like Donald Trump to be that way and just walk away and get away from it. But if you're talking with your friends and your family and in your community, you run into each other, you see each other. They
Right.
got to be held accountable, as I do, as you do, as everybody
Right.
does, for your decisions and for your support. And certainly, people can be misguided. They can be a one issue. If abortion is their thing, you're never going to change their mind. Perhaps not. But some folks are never going to change. But I think a lot of folks, if you're starting to pay attention now, because we just got done through the holiday, right? This is now when people are starting to pay attention. And I think if we hold the supporters of MAGA, the reasonable, quote unquote, ones, to the same standard that they want to hold us to, I think we can make some progress there. If Kamala Harris got up and said she wanted to be a dictator for a day,
Oh, man.
That would be the end.
come on.
that'd be it. I'd freak
Yeah.
out. No, what? There's this, if any of those things that have gone on through with MAGA and with Trump were applied to or said by Kamala Harris or Walz or anyone down ticket, any of the political types that we know, I mean, that'd be hell to the no. Get out. I don't want anything to do with you. I will not vote for you. I will actively vote against you. I'll try to find somebody else. You know what I'm saying? That's the standard I'm talking about. It's easy for Trump to get away with that. I think it's a little more difficult for the supporters to get the smell out.
So Hunter Biden and the laptop.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, man, come on, man. Okay, and he lied, and he needs to be held accountable. And the people who are saying that, it's hard to take them seriously when they bag this guy.
Right. Oh, you're so concerned about lying.
Yeah.
Oh, really? When did that come about?
Hey, Hunter Biden, he's lying.
And Hunter Biden is not
I know.
he's not a politician. He's not the president. And oh my God, someone, heaven forbid, trying to make money off their parents' name. Come on. The Ivanka and Jared were getting paid while in the White House. Guy got $2 billion from Bonesaw as soon as he stepped out of the White House. I mean, those and all, yes, absolutely. They should be investigated. Sure.
The Trump boys right now have just created their own Bitcoin.
Oh, excellent.
So they're selling. Come on, man! They're trying to make some money off.
Well, Trump stock isn't doing too well, so they got to do something else. Folks, you're listening to the Dom Salvia Show. That's my pal Earl Ingram sticking around for the segment. Your calls coming up next. 855-752-4842. Hey, welcome back to the Dom Salvia Show. Phone lines open, talk or text. Going to go to you shortly, 855-752-4842. Jim from Fond du Lac, lamenting. Unfortunately, I think it's simply racism. I am white middle class, and all of the Trump supporters I know blame the Democratic Party for enabling black people and other inner city minorities as they sit at home all day and live off their taxes. Is that still a thing? That's the first thing they bring up after talking to them. For 2 minutes, they ignore the fact that there are many more white people on public assistance. Where I live, we are two Americas as much as we have ever been.
Who is that? Who is that guy?
That was Jim from Fond du Lac.
Hey, Jim, right on, man. Right on.
He's got a point. I mean, there's more white people on public assistance than there are black people. But the perception, I think, is the racism, man. It's not about who needs the help.
Well, so Dominic, if black people only make up 12% of the population of the United States, how can it possibly be? I mean, if you just try to think, if you just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not talking about, you have
scratch the surface here, right?
Just think just a little bit, then you wouldn't be agreeing with those ridiculous, statements that people are making. It's impossible. So when you say we're going to go after all the ne'er-do-wells in the central city who have their hands out and they're getting SNAP benefits. So we're going to cut the SNAP benefits. Hey, you know how many people, you know who you're really hurting? They don't even give it a second thought.
No.
He's right on point.
Yeah. 855-752-4842. The racism. I mean, that's always an underlying issue. I mean, for real. I mean, we can't talk around about these things without addressing that, and that is a big part of Donald Trump's attraction. I think certainly we heard him, all the racist things that he has said. I mean, when he came out and ran, he talked about the migrants coming over with calves the size of melons. I mean, what? I'm sure there's good people, some very fine people too. I mean, what? This is pervasive.
Well, Dominic, how can you possibly say that all of these criminals and gang members are coming here and then they play these commercials or videos about one person, a migrant who came and did something horrific, and
Right.
that's not acceptable.
Certainly.
And you say, and you imply that they're all like that, and you scare people to thinking that all the migrants, and then you got bred Americans who take AK-47s and AR-15s and slaughter more American people than one immigrant from overseas. Come on, man.
Yeah, but that was an American murderer, man. That's America. That was an AR-15 from America, baby.
It's nonsensical, man.
It is absolutely nonsensical, and I think it needs to continually. We need to continually bring it up and remind people, man. I mean, there's no possible. You can't have these conversations and have that mindset if you're aware of the facts and you try to see through the institutional racism and the things that we've had fought in this country. Continue to fight this ignorance, Earl. That's still a big part of it, and that's unfortunate. And now we have Kamala Harris, first black woman, hopefully president.
So man, let me tell you something. You think there's been some racism and some bigotry in the 60 days that are left up to this election?
Yeah,
the Republicans and Donald Trump are really going to ratchet up on racism and bigotry and sexism. What else do they have? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not shameful because nobody tries to hold them to a standard of saying and doing the right thing. All we're asking is that people should be held to standards, right? We have to, as Americans, hold people to standards, man.
Yes. I mean, isn't that how we grew up?
Yes.
I mean, you do X, Y, and Z, you're going to be punished. You're going to, lose privileges.
Yeah.
All those kind of, you gotta be held to a standard. And what if they are? What if the standard is there? It's been lowered so much, Earl. The standard is now down here.
Then it's not a standard. If they choose, well, and you have to understand what the nation professes to be. Okay, we profess to be, the great Christian nation. All the other nations are full of heathens, but we're Americans, right?
Chosen by God, right?
We're the Americans and Christians. And then we don't live by that standard, man. The rest of the world looks at us and says, what?
No.
With a symbol like him? Come on, man.
Donald Trump says that we were most respected in the world when he was president.
I know, man.
I mean, I know. It is. It's tough. It's tough. 855-752-4842. Let's get to some very patient callers. We appreciate it. Ron from the MKE. Welcome, Ron. What do you got for us?
Hey, guys. Two quick thoughts. One on Trump himself. When you look at his self-image, air quotes there, it comes down to his constant repetition that I'm always right and I've done nothing wrong. Now, who thinks like that? Criminals that are masterminds don't think like that. A god might think like that, but this guy is off the charts somewhere.
Yeah.
The other part of this is he's the end product of about 30, 35 years a trend that started very slowly in the Republican Party, where they used to just have "I like Ike" was the slogan for Eisenhower, and Nixon's the one. I mean that's unassailable, and it's we're not getting into the weeds of truth or fact or anything like that, just like the Democrats used to do. And now, and since about the Reagan era, and Karl Rove and everything that followed, all the way up to today. The powers in the Republican Party and their leash masters, which is the billionaire community interest, they pay their salaries basically, just kept pushing it further and further. It got to the point where the one-liners that they used in their speeches and in their debates were clearly no longer being written by speechwriters. They were being written by Madison Avenue ad people, So you've got, George H.W. Bush said, "Read my lips," and
no new taxes.
And it's gotten worse since then. So now you've got this guy who just lifts lines out of popular. He must watch a huge amount of television and old movies and everything else. And when he hears a line he likes, he writes it down. He's been using Clint Eastwood language from the spaghetti westerns.
Thanks for the call, Ron. I mean, this is a guy like dun 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 dun. No, my riff is dun 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 dun. Totally different. Folks are listening to the Dom Salvia Show. My pal Earl Ingram in with me. Join us on the lines 855-752-4842.
But a slow glowing dream.
Disco.
Welcome back to the Dom Salvia Show. Phone lines open. Talk or text 855-752-4842. Well done, Jess.
Thanks.
Some sad news to announce. Thanks, Kushko, for bringing this one to my attention as well. James Earl Jones has passed away. I believe he was 93 years old.
93.
Wow. Darth Vader is dead. That's hard to believe.
Well, he was human.
He was.
So
Turns out.
this goes to what we were just talking about off the air with Elon Musk.
The soon-to-be trillionaire?
There'll be a day when they'll be saying, "Hey, Elon Musk just passed."
He's gonna freeze himself in like 10 years.
The $1 trillion is not going to be able to help him.
It's not gonna. No. And I think people will probably revere James Earl Jones a little more than they did
Elon Musk.
Leon. I think Trump called him Leon.
That's his name.
This is Leon. I mean,
Leon.
I dubbed thee Leon.
Well, Trump never makes mistakes.
So it is Leon.
It's Leon.
Yeah.
Leon. All right, 855-752-4842. Got some callers being very patient. Let's get to them. Wisco, Paul, you are up. Welcome, Paulie. What do you got for us?
Hey, good afternoon, Dom. Congratulations on your new show. Nice to hear Earl.
Thanks, man.
Ron Johnson, he embraced Trump and his ideas and other things, and he wanted to state again, so that makes me a little nervous. But, 70,000 people that showed up in Mosinee, you're never going to flip them. It's impossible. And no matter what Trump says or does, not flipping them. So you got to go for the independent voters, and I think they're going to decide the election. And I really, in my heart of hearts, think people like Cheney and Liz, even her father,
Dick, yep,
not supporting Trump. It's a big deal, and you don't see Pence supporting him. There's a who's who of Republicans that don't want this guy anywhere near power, and even his former cabinet members, I don't know who's going to have in the cabinet because nobody wants to work for the man except for real Looney Tune people.
Right.
So I just hope Kamala does really good tomorrow night. I'm going to a watch party, and I really I just can't see Trump being reelected. In this state, it always comes down to, it seems to me, well, Green Bay does play a role, is where I live in the Dane County area and the Milwaukee County, and I think they're going to turn out very heavily. Because you can't have somebody like Trump in charge. I mean, all right. That's my rant.
Right.
Have a good day, you two.
Thank you, Paulie. Appreciate it. I mean, I'd like to think that, and tomorrow will be really telling. I'm looking forward to seeing the Vice President Harris debate with Donald Trump. And I think there's going to be different standards set for her than there will be for Donald. I mean, there's a lower standard for the old white guy who talks about sharks, electrocutions, and the late great Dr. Hannibal Lecter. I mean, the fact that this is even a comparison is really, really strange to me. And I hear what you're saying. Perhaps the pure megas will never, ever turn. But I'm not convinced. How about we just have them hold themselves to the same standard they'll hold, the Democrats to? How about that? Or just not even yourself, your own candidates, perhaps.
So Dominic, you have seen over the years of Trump, you've gone to his rallies.
Yes, dozens.
You've seen him.
Yes.
You've seen the MAGAs.
Yes.
I've seen the MAGAs. I was, for heaven's sakes, at the Republican convention a month ago, 2 months ago. You've seen the MAGAs. They're a whole different kind of people, man. They're in their own world. They really are. You remember the Tea Partiers?
Oh yeah. Tax enough already,
yeah,
baby.
And so I was around the Tea Partiers. I saw the Tea Partiers. They were different than the MAGAs. They weren't, as, I guess, so, I want to be kind, just have given their thoughts up and just let this guy do all the thinking for them. The Tea Party wasn't like that.
Yeah.
They didn't rally around and give up their individual thoughts. MAGA people have. They've given up, man. They've given up their own ability to reason. Right? I mean, how can you not
willingly have given that up?
Right.
Yes. And for what in return? That's what I'm wondering as well. If all your dreams come true, Mega, and Donald Trump is once again elected to the White House, how does that benefit you and your family, your community, the issues that you care about? I'm very curious to know. I mean, because all those things that he's going to be talking about, other than dictator for a day and prosecuting everybody who voted against him or donated any dollars. I mean, besides that, that's all kind of new fascism, new wave of fascism. He mismanaged the pandemic. He engaged he engaged with Russia. I know some folks, that was totally discredited. No, it's not. And now we have it again. We have these the YouTuber types, the influencers that are getting paid, through a cutout from Russian oligarchs. And now, we were so surprised. We had no idea. Well, you were getting $400,000 a month. I just thought they did it for, because I was totally worth it. That kind of influence, I think we also cannot diminish. You talked a little bit, about the racism. I think that's certainly part of the formula, right? But also the siloing of information and the influence of other actors upon us. Because what really makes this country weak is division. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that to me is when we're battling against each other, when we're jumping from one foot to another, blaming each other for this and that. And when we are not we the people, when we are divided. And I'm not talking about divided on what tax policy should be. I'm talking about divided about what humanity is.
Right.
What's it mean? What does it mean to be civil? What does it mean for self-governance? I mean, we can't even agree on the most basic premise of self-governance. We're in a really tough spot.
But how can that be in a Christian nation? I'm sorry.
Well, of course, we're not a Christian nation.
Well, that's what
they'll
say.
Claim that. They'll claim that. Yeah, right. Okay.
This is what we wear on our sleeve.
Well, they wear
that. We're a Christian nation.
They say that. I do not espouse to that.
I don't know. Come on, man.
Yeah.
And you can say whatever it is you want to say, but the definition of a Christian is one who crystallizes himself with Christ in that belief.
Who would Jesus tic-tac up for? Come on,
man.
You know what I'm saying? So yes, any of those. If you read the words of your Savior, and does this guy follow them?
Well, see, you have to hold him to that standard. But how can
we're all sinners,
How
Earl.
can you hold that man to the standard when he held the Bible up backwards and upside down? Right?
And plowed through a peaceful protest in order to get there.
So they asked
got
him,
his military to take him.
The other day they asked him if he was a Christian, and he said,
"No.
Well, I'm not a Christian."
I'm not a Christian.
Did you? He said it.
He said it. I am not a Christian.
Okay. So this is what I don't understand. Christians are supposed to walk with Christians. That's part of the criteria to be a Christian, that I'm going to be walking hand in hand with my Christendom brothers and sisters.
Well, I don't know. The Protestants and the Catholics are still mad at each other in Ireland, man. So I mean, but okay. All right. But generally speaking, okay.
Yeah, but this cat clearly told them,
I am not a Christian.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so how can you then be an evangelical Christian and you're the most Christian of the Christians, you say?
Right.
And this man said on national TV, I'm not a Christian. And yet you're supporting him 100%. Help me understand that, Dominic. You're a bright guy.
I think you can justify it away because, he's an imperfect vessel, Earl.
Well,
what else do you need to say? But you can. And because you can go and confess your sins or whatever, and then be saved. Whatever you do. And if you live that life, then you can do whatever damn dastardly skullduggery that you want to do Monday through Sunday until church time, and then ask for forgiveness, and now you got a clean slate, and you do it all over again.
Because Christ paid the price for me.
Apparently.
So I don't have to live right. I better get away from that. Hey, let's talk about something else.
All right, let's get to the 855-752-4842. It's certainly racist, legacy racist behavior that we continually deal with in this country. I think of the economic thing. When you have oligarchs pulling Peter Thiel, financing the vice president. I mean, he plucked him up, put him up. Here's your money. Now go get him, Tiger. I mean, when it's that blatant, when you have the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas taking $4 or $5 million in gifts. It's not a bribe; it's gratuity. And there's nothing we can do. Oh, sorry, too bad. That's just how it is. No, man, that's not how it is. We should always reject that corruption, and we should have political parties and leaders that speak out forcefully against that. Because what does this continually do? It erodes the confidence in the institutions, and when we're fighting with our institutions, when we're fighting with each other, we're weaker. We're weaker as a country, and that bodes well for our adversaries.
So, from a geezer's perspective, moi, I've been around a while. And so there was a time when, even if the politricksters were doing those things, they wouldn't do it in the open.
No, right.
You had to catch them.
You had to investigate.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You had to catch them. And then when you caught them, they said, oh, okay, you got me.
Gary Hart had
I know.
burned his career. Dude, Trump slept with a porn star, man.
But, man, they do this in open sight. You mentioned Supreme Court justices taking vacations, wealthy people giving them money to take vacations.
Buying his mom's home, giving him a camper. I mean, how is it just not a bribe? I mean, let's just call it what it was. If instead of that vacation, dude gave him a duffel bag full of $500,000, would that just be, hey, it's just, use of the money? Now, he could take that money and go on the same vacation, or he could put it in his freezer. You know what I'm saying? Is that when does it become a problematic for the Supreme Court and certainly for megas and for the politicians, man? I mean, we have we should do something on this court. Now, I know that, Joe Biden has come out with some light policies, but I mean, we have a lot of problems.
He should have packed the court. and
expanded the court.
Yeah,
When
well,
you say packed,
we can use whatever verbiage you want to use.
Get more people on the court.
I know, because if they don't, while the Democrats are in charge, imagine if by some chance Kamala Harris, doesn't win, that imbalance on the court continues, Dominic, for how long? At least another 4 years, possibly even more. And so we're not going to be able to change things. One of the reasons why so many people were upset with Joe Biden is when he had a chance to, add some additional Supreme Court members, he wanted to do the right thing and not do it from that perspective. But what did Mitch McConnell do when Barack Obama was the president and a Supreme Court justice died, and it was time for Obama to put one on? What did Mitch McConnell? No.
Oh, you mean Attorney General Garland, not Justice Garland?
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You can't play. People say, well, you can't play the same game they play. I don't know about that. If they're playing underhanded, they're playing, we're playing poker, and they're doing like the old cowboy days, and they got a card hidden, and you're not doing it. Come on.
Don't bring a knife to a gunfight, Earl. Folks are listening to the Dom Salvia Show, 855-752-4842. Coming back, one last segment. We'll get to your calls. Talk or text, 855-75-CIVIC. Welcome back to the Dom Salvia Show, our last segment of the day. If you got something to say, please hit us up right now. Talk or text 855-752-4842. Earl Ingram Jr., my friend, Civic Media host here at WAUK 8 to 10 a.m., doing double duty today, hanging out with me, Earl. Thank you so much for doing so. Just one last segment. We'll get to the phone calls in a moment, but Jess did some hard work for me. Thank you, Jess.
You're welcome.
When Trump... When the former guy comes to Wisconsin, we got to bring you some of the sound. And this one I thought was especially poetic. Let's go with Donald Trump in Mosinee. He's got a plan for the Department of Education.
He sure does.
Fifth, we will drain the government education swamp and stop the abuse of your taxpayer dollars to indoctrinate America's youth with all sorts of things that you don't want to have our youth
Lots
hearing.
Lots of things. Can't hear those
Ultimately, we'll limit, and you know what we're doing here.
Yeah. You totally lost it.
Back to do this. We will ultimately eliminate the federal Department of Education and send education back to Wisconsin and back to the states.
Back to Wisconsin.
We'll send it back to the states, so that Ron Johnson can run it, okay?
Wait. Okay, couple of thoughts here. You hear him when he messes up.
Oh yeah.
He has that brain fart, and then he goes out. Oh, I've been wanting to do this while his brain kind of catches up. I've been wanting to do this. Can't wait to get back to this long. And then he gets back on script. He has a hard time. He's been having more and more of these kinds of episodes where he's on script. His brain scrambles. He says something on the side, then he gets back to the script. But Ron Johnson,
this is who we want.
This is going to be, I guess, our, what do we call the education czar? Is that what we're going to call Ron Johnson? Because This is the guy, Ron Johnson, talked about the Great Depression. I mean,
yeah, he has some ideas.
yeah, who doesn't? I mean, when you're in school,
feelings.
you always learn about history, right? And the Great Depression was a hard time, right? I mean, that was terrible. Let's hear what the education czar from the great state of Wisconsin, Senator Ron Johnson, had to say on that topic, please, Jess.
Is there something that can head off the debt crisis that can give, let's assume, a Trump presidency time to work on these things?
Well, we've been doing it for years by just printing more money. Now, one of the interesting revelations of Creature from Jekyll Island is the fact that the Great Depression was pretty well planned. You know, all the big money men were pretty well warned that they were going to finally collapse the system. I mean, they had booms and busts. They had to finally just collapse the system, kind of start all over. So pull your money out of the market. And so, again, they're the big and powerful, you know, the Joseph Kennedys of the world, you know, the J.P. Morgans of the world. They got off scot-free. They got out of the market in time. So, again, I know this. I know it really sounds like conspiracy theory. I don't completely understand it, but
I don't really understand it.
Seems it's just in my bones. I just feel there's a great deal of corruption and control there that the vast majority of people do not understand. And again, when you're the few people who do understand, and you've got
are you one of
power,
you know who he sounds
things
like?
Can happen.
He sounds like Donald Trump.
Right. I know words coming out of his mouth. I know it sounds like a conspiracy, and I really don't understand it. But
I'm going to keep saying it.
But those that do understand it, well, I mean, you got to be really curious. I mean, it's something. It's really something.
I feel it in my bones.
I feel it in my bones.
A congressman,
a senator.
I mean, a senator.
A senator. The senior senator from the great state of Wisconsin. Now, according to Donald Trump, if he has his way and gets elected, you will hear that kind of history from the education czar.
Oh, goody.
He might not understand it, but he's going to talk like he does.
You know, man, it's nauseating. It really is. We know that tomorrow Donald Trump is going to be on the stage. They're going to ask him questions. He's going to totally ignore everything that they said. And he's just going to pontificate about nothing. And then Fox News and Republicans are going to call my show tomorrow morning and say, Trump won.
Well, they're going to say that no matter what.
I know.
And if Trump loses the election, they're still going to say Trump won. I mean, MAGA never loses. They never lose. I mean, what a wonderful place to be. I am in never losing land. What is it like there? Do you learn anything?
No.
Are there consequences to your actions? No, you always win and you never lose. And, and always winning, Earl, means you never have to say you're sorry.
So I guess I would ask, who would admit that to say I'm MAGA? What has to happen to you to be identified? Is that a gang? Like the Bloods and the Crips?
I mean, seemingly, right? You see the hats all the time? Yeah.
Come on, man. I'm a MAGA. Who are you? I'm a MAGA.
What does that mean?
Make America great again.
Yeah.
But what are they referring to?
Well, back before Dick Cheney was vice president, apparently. 855-752-4842. Let's not leave them hanging. Mark from Sussex, you will have the last word on the air today. Welcome, Mark. What do you got?
Well, thanks for taking my call with a minute and a half left, but I just appreciate it. Thank you. One issue that I have with the immigration system of the Democrats is there are states out there that are willing, and if I was an immigrant or a different nationality, I would have a real problem with us as United States citizens paying for their housing, paying for their meals, paying for their education before they're even legal citizens. We don't even do that for our legal citizens. And Earl, as an African American, you should probably, have a comment on that because I think this is just ridiculous.
I should have a comment. Why should I have a comment on that?
Well, because they're taking all the black jobs, Earl. I mean, isn't that what it is?
Hey, come on, man. Come on, man. Listen, man, the truth of the matter is, it's easy to point the finger and not be truthful about people and whether or not these people who are here to work and do a decent job are deserving of respect. That's the way I see it.
Earl Ingram Jr., thank you so much for hanging out with me today, man. It's always a pleasure. Look forward to doing it again.
No question, my friend.
And thank
Anytime.
you. Oh, I appreciate that, man. Thank you, Jess. A pleasure working with you as well. Folks, this is the Dom Salvia Show. We're going to do it all over again tomorrow. A little pre-debate party. We're going to see Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. Oh, did you hear some of that stuff, too? He's very, very upset with what, ABC? Who's doing it? Oh, yeah. They're nasty. They're nasty. Thank you for listening. Pete Schwab on Nightlight coming up next.
I got